Hi friends, my name is Dr. Varun Deshmukh, and in this video I am going to discuss what are the 25 commonest mistakes that people make while putting lines, and you should avoid, rather you must avoid making these mistakes. I am sure that you have put many lines and you may have come across these situations where you would have felt that this was an avoidable thing and I could have avoided this mistake. I also have come across such situations. Some of these mistakes I have made myself, some of these mistakes I have seen other people make, and from them I have learned not to make these mistakes myself. So I am compiling these mistakes one by one, and I hope you find it useful. There are many good videos on the YouTube who teach you how to put a central line or how to put a dialysis port or arterial line using ultrasound. So I am not going to describe that part, and I feel it is more of a practical learning rather than a learning based on video. But there are very good videos there on the YouTube, so probably you can take help from these videos if you want to learn how to put lines. In this video I am going to describe what are the mistakes which are easily avoidable, and it will go a long way if you make appropriate changes in your practice. So first and foremost mistake which commonly people do is not explaining the procedure to the patient. So when patient comes for a line, many times the patient is awake and the procedure is a planned one, and patient is very anxious. So if you explain the procedure, what you are going to do, that starts building up a rapport with the patient, and to some extent the patient's anxiety is reduced. Also patient gains more confidence in you, and sometimes the good beginning is halfway done. You already know that. So please start with a good rapport and explain the procedure to your patient. Second is not telling about the complications of the procedure when you are taking consent. So as you know, the consent is a written informed consent. So it is written, you make sure that it is written and they have signed, but you have not informed. So make sure you inform all the complications which happen, or those which are very serious in nature. So for example, for lines, I always explain that patient may have bleeding, hematoma formation, pneumothorax, pseudoaneurysm formation because of accidental injury to the artery. Apart from that, if the line remains inside for longer time, there can be thrombosis, there is a risk of infection. So these are the common complications, and some of them are very serious. So it is not possible that we may not encounter complication at all, but if we have explained these complications beforehand, we are always in a better position when such complications happen. I am not telling that you become careless and let these things happen if you have already explained in advance. I am telling that informing beforehand will really help you establish a good communication, and patient might have an idea when these complications happen that this was already explained to me and this could have happened, and they will take it in a more acceptable way. So that is second point. Third point is not checking the advice. So what line is to be put, which is the site do they want to put the line. So these are very silly sort of mistake, or I would say clerical sort of mistake, where you put a line on the right side and it was advised to be put on the left side. Sometimes it does not make difference, but sometimes if they are planning for a certain procedure on the right side and they have specifically advised to put line on the left side, it makes a big difference. So please check before starting for the procedure whether the line has to be where the line has to be put, and any specific type of line has to be put, like a double lumen or triple lumen dialysis port, or curved or straight dialysis port, or double, triple or quadruple lumen of central line. So all these things have to be specifically checked before starting for the procedure. Also check for the basic blood investigation of the patient. So So it should not happen that the patient has a bleeding tendency, or patient is having very low platelets or deranged coagulation parameters, and you are not aware of that. Sometimes we do procedures even when there is a coagulopathy or platelets are less, but that is also when we already know, and we make sure that all sort of safety precautions have been taken. So it should not happen that you are not aware only and you do the procedure. So that is also very important. Third thing is not asking about the allergy to local anesthesia. So it is not uncommon to have allergy to local anesthetics, and it is very important to ask about local anesthetic allergy to prevent any allergic reaction from happening. So that is also very important. Fifth mistake is not screening with ultrasound before getting washed up. So always make it a habit, which will go a long way. If you screen before starting the procedure, you may come to know that there is a clot or there is some local infection at the site, and that site is not suitable for the line. You may have to look for other sites. So the sixth thing is not carefully washing up. So that is a very crucial step, and it should not be taken lightly. So thoroughly wash with soap and chlorhexidine from your hands till your elbows, and follow all the steps of hand washing, and at least it should take 3 minutes or little longer for you to wash your hands. That will ensure that you have adequately cleared all the infective bacteria and viruses from your surface, and your hands are sterile. So that is very important. Fourth thing that commonly people make mistake is not putting a plastic sheet underneath the part where procedure is to be performed. Like if you are doing a procedure on the neck, place a plastic sheet beneath the shoulders and head. If you are doing a procedure on the wrist, then put a plastic sheet beneath the wrist. This will avoid soiling of the linen and bed sheets. And 8th point is inappropriate painting of the site. So in our setup, we use chlorhexidine with soap for the first round of cleaning, and after that we do 2% chlorhexidine with ethanol, that is AHD, for 3 times to make sure that the site is clean. Thoroughly rub the skin to make sure all the debris is clearly removed, and let the alcohol and AHD dry. Don't wipe it. If you are using beta scrub instead of chlorhexidine with soap, let the beta scrub be there on the skin for at least 3 minutes, because that is the time that it takes for the action to start. So don't just clean with beta scrub and immediately clean with chlorhexidine alcohol. Keep it there for 3 minutes. In our setup, as I told you, we use chlorhexidine with soap instead of beta scrub, and I find it better. The ninth mistake, so this was the ninth mistake. The 10th mistake is using the drape improperly. So you should always remember, even if you are doing a line at the neck, the whole body should be covered as much as possible from head till the feet, so that all the sterile equipments or anything you can keep on the sterile sheet, and the USG probe also, once it is in the sterile sheet, it can lie down on the your sterile green towel. So that is also very important. The other thing is, when you put a sterile sheet over your USG probe, do not let formation of crease over the footprint of the probe. Sometimes when there are crease formation, the footprint becomes some air particles, air droplets become embedded in the jelly, and your vision does not get clear. So make sure that there is no air and there are no wrinkles at the covering the footprint of your ultrasound probe while you drape it. The 10th is, when you cover the whole probe and its cable with the sterile sheet, it should not go out of your sterile sheet. So as much as possible, keep the most part of your sterile probe on the sterile sheet or green towel, so that it does not touch here and there, and your sterile sheet should not become infected. 13th thing, that is not giving adequate local anesthesia. So I always give local anesthesia at the site where I am going to puncture with a larger needle, and at the same time in the next prick I give local anesthesia at the approximate site where I am going to apply sutures. This makes sure that after the procedure, when I take stitches, patient does not feel pain at all. So initially taking 2 pricks and giving adequate local anesthesia is very important. The next important point is not talking to the patient while the procedure is going on. So as you know, the patient's face might be covered, patient is already anxious, and you are doing something, patient is not knowing what is the next step which is going to happen on his or her body. So it is always better to keep on talking to the patient that what you have already done and what you are planning to do next. This will give him some anticipation, and the patient may cooperate better with the procedure. 15th point is not using longitudinal axis while inserting the line. So you must be aware that there are 2 views which can be used for doing the line. One is transverse or horizontal view, and the other is longitudinal or long axis view. So the advantage of longitudinal view is that the tip of the needle is also seen, and your chances of puncturing the posterior wall of your vein or your any structure become less. Compared to that, when you use transverse axis, you can see only a bright dot, that is the cut section of your needle, and that cut section may be at any point of your needle, and the tip may be way beyond the point that is seen. So you can accidentally injure another artery, or you can accidentally injure the pleura, but on your screen you may see that the bright dot is within the vein. So that is the problem with the transverse view. So that is also a common mistake. Transverse view is easy to learn and very short learning curve. So people are very tempted to use transverse view, but I will strongly recommend you to use longitudinal long axis view, which will be more safe for you as well as for the patient. The next important thing is sometimes I have seen people overzealously inserting the guide wire inside to make sure that they see arrhythmias on the monitor. So you must not insert guide wire so much inside that it reaches the right atrium and it starts causing arrhythmias. Sometimes these arrhythmias can be fatal, and sometimes it is very difficult to treat these arrhythmias even with shocks or different anti-arrhythmic drugs. So our goal is to not go into the right atrium itself. Our goal is to just keep the guide wire inside enough for us to dilate and pass over the central line. Next thing is when the guide wire is already inside, not confirming whether the guide wire is in the right place and whether it has not gone into another vein, like from IJV to the subclavian or from subclavian to the IJV. And the second thing is not confirming the presence of pneumothorax. So these 2 things can be easily confirmed by the ultrasound even before the stage of dilatation. So when the guide wire is inside, you can trace it from here till, and you can look into the thorax above the clavicle, and you can see the direction of the guide wire, whether it is going straight towards the mediastinum or whether it is going into the subclavian. You can also put the probe on subclavian to see whether there is guide wire inside. To do that, you should have already painted and cleaned the part starting from the site of procedure as well as the subclavian region, because you are going to put your probe there to check the position of the guide wire. So that is an important step. Before dilatation, if you can detect, you can always withdraw the guide wire little bit, rotate it and again reinsert. For pneumothorax also, if you can clearly show presence of pleural sliding in the first and second intercostal space in the mid-axillary line, you are almost certain that you have not created a pneumothorax, because that would be the first site where the pneumothorax would start when you do procedure from the neck. And probably if you can demonstrate that pleural sliding is present, your possibility of pneumothorax is it becomes minimal. So that is very important and it should be followed. 18th point is dilating in the false passage. So sometimes when, especially in case of femoral lines or subclavian lines, a long portion of your guide wire is inside the subcutaneous plane, and then it enters the vein. So when you are dilating, sometimes if you suppose the guide wire is going like this, and if you dilate in the wrong direction, there is a possibility that within the subcutaneous plane itself you kink the guide wire, and if the guide wire get kinked inside the subcutaneous plane, it becomes very difficult and messy. So just see the trajectory of guide wire before starting to dilate, and then dilate only according to the trajectory of the guide wire. Sometimes you may have to put a very small nick at the entry point in the skin. Make sure to not go very deep, otherwise you will injure the vein or artery with your knife, and there will be more bleeding. So please make sure to dilate in the right trajectory. Now 19th common mistake that can be avoided is not cleaning the catheter hub with AHD at the end of the procedure. So now you have successfully dilated and inserted the catheter, and sometimes it becomes blood stained. So when you finish the procedure, make sure that you clean all the hub and other parts of the catheter which are outside, and there should be no visible blood stains, because the blood stains can actually harbor bacteria, and that can be a source of infection for this patient. 20th point is not properly flushing the catheter. So once the procedure is done, you must flush it very properly so that there is no blockage, either complete or partial, because it is very disheartening to see that the catheter is put just today or yesterday and now it is not working and flow is not coming because probably it is blocked. So make sure you flush it very well and thoroughly at the end of your procedure. Now 21st mistake is not taking stitches appropriately. So sometimes if we do a procedure at the neck, there is EJV or other vessels going at the nearby your entry point, and when you are taking stitch, you should take care to not pass your stitch through the EJV or any other vessel, otherwise it will keep on oozing and the dressing will have to be changed repeatedly. Also sometimes I have seen people take big bites, and that leads to formation of blackening. So sometimes when the line is out and patient goes home, but still the patient has your memory in the form of those black scars which look like a bite of a snake. So make sure that you take stitches gently and but not very superficial at the same time, so they should hold the catheter in proper place. You can also use Statlock, but in that scenario you should make sure that it is stuck properly, and every day you should inspect the Statlock, and if needed you may have to change it. So taking proper stitches is very important. Now 22nd point is not putting a proper dressing. So sometimes I have seen people that they just do the line and start walking, and the nurses or the assistant then does the remaining job. But you have to remember that if you are doing the procedure, it is your job to finish it off completely. So the dressing also has to be done by yourself. The line has to be covered with a Gamgee by yourself, and that ensures that the quality and the asepsis is maintained throughout. So make sure you do it yourself and not depend on other colleagues or other juniors. 23rd is proper disposal of biomedical waste. So the sharp should go into the sharp container. It should be picked up with a forceps and not with your hand, and preferably you should do it yourself, because you know where you have put all the needles and all the sharps, and it is easy for you to pick up and put them into the sharp container. If you leave it for someone else, there is a chance that the other person will get needle stick injury, and then there will be more problems. So make sure you dispose of sharps properly. Also dispose of the other biomedicals like gloves, the gauze pieces, blood soaked materials, all these into different proper disposal ways. So make sure that. 24th point is not writing the notes after finishing the procedure. So if you have done the procedure, you must write down the notes. Even if you may write 2-3 lines that you have done this procedure under sterile condition, under UST visualization, and procedure was successful, no immediate complications, and whatever advice you want to say, for example, maintain asepsis or do a chest x-ray or whatever. So if your note is there, your time and date is mentioned, that is a documentation that you have done the procedure, and that is very important. And last point is not following up with the chest x-ray or any other investigation that you may have advised. So if you have advised a chest x-ray after putting a neckline or a subclavian line, it is your duty to follow up and see the chest x-ray, whether the position is correct, whether there is any pneumothorax or any other complication. You must see that yourself and not leave it to others. If you leave it to others, then also you should follow up and confirm that somebody has checked it and the line is ready to use. So these are the 25 important points, and you must not make these mistakes while inserting lines. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you like this video, please hit the like button. Please share this video with your colleagues and other people who might benefit from it. If you like more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel, and for any suggestions, please write down in the comment box. So I will see you in the next video with some new interesting topic. Till then, goodbye.